Real estate transaction checklist for transaction coordinators. The This is an expert guide for real estate transaction checklist for transactions coordinator, real estate transaction coordinator. Hi, this is Ruby Singh with the jobs and career advice. Let's cover today about real estate transaction checklist for transaction coordinators. Managing a single real estate transaction from listing to close is not a small task, right? We know that, the one who done that, right? So in fact, it's a hundred of tasks bound to strict deadlines and legal requirements. For many top producing real estate brokerages and teams, the most effective way to manage the hundreds and often thousands of separate transactions is with the help of an experienced transaction coordinator and the precise workflow and the checklist they provide, right? So the services that an expert transaction coordinator offer, it help to ensure that the agents whom they support can provide an exceptional experience to buyers and to their sellers. Okay, so these precise transaction services, which have become invaluable to brokerages and their agents, are built upon effective and time-saving process that often take years of experience and practice to develop. However, with the right system and an expert's knowledge, and any transaction coordinator, brokerage, or team can shave years of uh, the process and start using accurate workflow and checklist like very best transaction coordinators. Okay, before you can begin developing or refining an effective system for managing and coordinating transaction, you will have to evaluate your company's current ability to track transactions timeline, due dates, contingencies. It required all those documents and reminders, right? So you have to see, is your real estate company coordinator transaction as well as it could be, right? Because any level of uh, disorganization and time lost searching for items that have fallen through the crack more often leads to crucial missed details and poorly managed deals, right? Prototype is could be consider a few other questions to help determine if your workflow may require some degree of improvements, right? Are your agents failing to consistently notify your admins about closing extensions and other important dates? Okay, are your admins struggling to track the status of required paperwork and transactions? Are essential tasks falling behind through the crack only to cause complications at closing? Okay, so for many real estate companies, these problems often stem from a lack of defined process or a reliance on paper checklist or ad hoc systems, right? So these type of transaction coordinator process offer unclear workflow that few people can follow and lead to more work for everyone involved, right? Worse, the lack of precise structure to transaction management limits the opportunity for company growth and lead to frustrated clients and possibly even legal penalties, correct? So unfortunately, problems that stem from Inefficient systems are commonplace because developing a new and effective workflow can feel like daunting task. In response, many real estate offices move forward with uh, same confusing paper checklist and manual process that haphazardly get the job done. Eventually, however, they find that it becomes increasingly challenging to ensure consistency, compliance, and satisfaction in the long term. Okay, the solution for like automated and custom electronic checklists like those utilized by elite transaction coordinators, specific checklist workflow for every deal scenario allows your agents and admins to see only the necessary tasks automatically, more clearly organize the deals, the better, categorize relevant paperwork, and quickly view transaction status information. So whenever they need setting up new system to ensure that all transactions are consistently, appropriately managed, and it will help everyone involved in that deal. Otherwise, it's you know, we who worked before in this field, we know how frustration this is when you don't have effective paperwork, uh, and that agents or TCs they don't understand the guidelines. So that's why you have to create transaction checklists used by the top transaction coordinators. Um, whether you are new transaction coordinator looking to develop a real estate checklist for the first season, or if you are a real estate company looking to build precise checklist like the TC pros start with, you know, when they are starting it. So how real estate transaction checklists can give you the edge. The ultimate tool for coordinating every step of real estate transaction and ensuring that every requirement is properly fulfilled is more than a written list of a task. Okay, there are plenty of seemingly complete generic templates that you can search for the download of sometime from the internet, but none are specific to the exact transactions that your agents will close. So sometimes these free templates may be easy to find or free to use, but they have some severe limitation that impede your effectiveness. And often you'll spend more time trying to figure out what you don't need compared to what you do. So how can an electronic checklist help you in, in this journey? Okay. Because with electronic checklist, guys, it's easy. You can see which transactions are missing essential documents. It's easily monitor which contracts and other required documents are missing or incomplete. Okay. You again also you never miss a mission or critical due date on any transaction with task priority labeling or easy filtering. Automatically track your transactions' critical due dates, sync them with your favorite calendar system, and receive automatic reminders about upcoming tasks. Okay, stop manually adding due dates and let the system set critical dates based on business and calendar days before or after listing and closing dates or contingency dates or option dates and much more. Okay, use message templates and tags to keep your agents informed with important transaction updates. Okay. So while a list of every documents required to close a transaction is vital, this alone will not meet the needs of most busy brokerages, no matter how detailed the list is. Instead of tool that merely allow you to mark off completed steps or items received, so an electronic platform can provide other benefits that enable you to meet clients' needs best, and that way you can stay organized. Okay. Use purpose build system for ease and effectiveness. It's often known that tools that seeks to do everything doesn't do anything very well. Okay, because unfortunately many checklist systems are afterthoughts to products or features built by engineers who have never worked in the real estate industry. Systems like these generally cause frustration from those that need accurate and specific workflow for their real estate transactions. Conversely, if your workflow and checklist are part of a system intentionally designed for transaction management process, then your essential task will be precise. Okay, so this ensure you have everything you need and make it easier to find and retrieve documents and information as needed, whether during transaction or later um, on for compliance purposes, right? So how you can customize to suit your needs and requirements as a different type of real estate transaction each have their specific requirements and electronic tools that support transactions. Specific customization will help you to develop and refine unique checklist. Ensure that your system allow for critical due dates, contingencies, milestones, and options for automated deadlines and more. Okay. And also when it's software, you can manage these transactions from anywhere because it's essential to think about where your team might use this checklist and systems that you develop. As a real estate professional, your agents often work and process documents away from the office. An electronic checklist that can be accessed from anywhere or anytime allow agents to input information that busy brokers, admins, and transaction coordinators can reference as they need it, right? Um, you have to develop a checklist and transaction workflow that will delight agents and admins alike, right? Um, you have to create that workflow for every stage and every type of deal that you and your agents will need. If you're not currently, using a system, you have to use like um, you know, transaction coordinator management, or if they are using any software or make the process even easier to work with on both sides. So you have to define, guys, the stages of your real estate transaction process before you sit down and start listing every document required for a single family residential property sale in your state. Start by writing down how a typical transaction moves forward and what may happen to throw it off the course, right? It's often helpful to think about this in terms of deal stages, um, or transaction status. You know, start with, like, suppose a buyer progression. Okay, let's talk on that. They are making an offer, the offer is accepted. Number two, or number one, making an offer, right? Then an offer is accepted, then inspections or option period, right? Then pre-close and the close period. Listing deals may follow, similar flow, but they might look a little different depending on location, the style and preferences, right? For the listing side, progression will be, you can write, coming soon listing, uh, that is gonna go into the system, or it's an active listing, or it's an accepted offer, or accepting backup offers listing, right? Accepted offer, accepting backup offers, inspection periods, pre-close, closed, correct? So next, write down other stages that may be less common but may still require additional actions. In other words, think about those stages where something changes the course of the deal, okay? And start with these examples of additional status. Closing extended, deal fell through, or cancelled, or closed and commission is uh, unpaid, closed or commission paid, correct? So once your stages are fully mapped out, you can create them in your paperless pipeline account as a transaction status. Customize your transaction status. Verbiage will help admins and agents move deal from one stage to another without confusion. Okay, and it will allow the system to apply the checklist with the appropriate and necessary task automatically. Okay, uh, you also have to identify the type of deals, right? Deal stages are critical, guys, but it's also necessary to focus on the type of deals that you will likely to coordinate and manage. You may not run every possible kind of real estate transaction, but it's very important to outline those that you might frequently manage to ensure that your account for all conceivable tasks, documents, and requirements are up to date. Okay, try starting with the transaction types like residential, if it's a single family, if it's a condominium, if it's a farmland, if it's commercial property, if it's a multifamily residential, or an apartment, or a new construction, or property with septic, well, pool, etc. Okay, so after you identified the types of deals that your agents are most likely to encounter, you can add each to your paperless pipeline according as transaction label. Adding these specific transaction labels um, will ensure that unique requirement of each deal type are added to your transactions. Correct? So make sure that you write down the task and dates required for each situation. Okay, use the list of dates creating earlier, write down all required tasks that need to happen before or after or during each stage. From staging and putting up the sign to creating a commission, disbursement, and collecting funds, think through every step. Okay, prototype, uh, start with these task example: schedule photograph and staging, put up sign, list property on MLS, change MLS status, correct? Because we know that scheduling a photographer and staging is important, so that is number one. Then putting up the sign, number two. Then list property on the MLS, change the MLS status, right? Um, then order inspection and appraisals, clear funding, submit paperwork before close, submit commission, uh, disbursement, authorization, thank you card or any gift. What, you know, so these are very important points when you're creating that. Um, Also, when you're creating a checklist, after you have added your custom status and label, you will need need to match specific tasks for each variation. Start with the most common on straightforward type of deal and stage progression, uh, like purchase of residential, um, property that doesn't fall through, does not have a septic system, well, pool, or any HOA requirements. So, with that deal in mind, outline every task and document required for each stage of that deal. For example, you may want to include listing documents, communication requirements, option periods, due diligence, deadlines, and much more, right? Once your first checklist is built out, you can then copy that checklist and use it as a template, right? Um, and add new tasks to your template for other conditions, such as lead-based paint addendum, right? Make a copy of that checklist and add well and septic documents along with any specific tasks for your agents, deals that require those additional items, correct? By making copies of the original checklist and adding what's required, you will soon develop a list of tasks so specific that you can easily automate the process with the paperless pipeline. By setting up rules in your system, you can seamlessly have a pending task checklist apply to a condominium deal suppose in Houston or Texas, wherever your agent represent, the listing side or pending task checklist apply to, you know, residential transactions, or, they are in California. That also has a, the properties in California has a pool, and well, where your company represent both the listing and buying side automatically. Okay. Um, so these are the points that you should consider when you are preparing a checklist real estate transaction checklist for the transaction coordinator.